Welcome to the tutorial on mastering the artistic text tool in CorelDRAW. To add artistic text, select the text tool and left-click once on the page. Type your text. Switch to the pick tool. That's it. That is artistic text. There is a lot more to the artistic text tool, and we will be going through some of the details in this tutorial. We will learn about the advanced formatting in a separate tutorial. To increase or decrease the text size, you can place your cursor in the font size field in the properties bar and type in the required value. With the text selected, use the pick tool to grab one of the 8 black squares, the control handles, and push it inwards or pull it outwards to decrease or increase its size. Grab the control handle in the bottom right corner and push it inwards and pull it outwards. Observe the font size field in the properties bar as you do this. You will see the size value decrease or increase depending on the direction you move that control handle. The change in the font size will be proportionate. If you hold down the Shift key while moving that control handle, the change in the size will be from the center inwards or from center outwards. Left-click and grab the same control handle and move it diagonally past the control handle on the opposite diagonal end to flip it horizontally and vertically. Grab a control handle in the center along one of the horizontal sides and pull it down or push it up. You will see the font size increase or decrease. But the change in the font size will only be in the vertical height. The horizontal size remains unchanged. So, it will not be a proportionate change in size. Grab the same control handle and move it towards the control handle on the opposite side and move it past it to flip the text vertically. Now, grab a control handle in the center along one of the vertical sides and pull it outwards or push it inwards. You will notice that the font size does not change. The only change is to the width of the text as well as the width of each letter that is part of this text. Grab the same control handle and move it towards the control handle on the opposite side and move it past it to flip the text horizontally. Double-click on the artistic text to bring up the skew and rotate control handles. Left-click and grab a skew control handle on one of the horizontal sides. Move the handle to the right or to the left to skew the text. Similarly, if you grab a skew control handle along one of the vertical sides and move it up or down, you will skew the text vertically. This is the anchor point, right in the center. If you grab one of the rotation control handles and move it up or down, you will rotate the text anchored in the center. Grab the anchor and move it to one of the corners. Grab one of the rotation control handles and move it up or down, and the text will rotate locked at the position the anchor is at. With the text selected, click on this icon for mirror horizontally up in the properties bar to flip the text horizontally. Likewise, click on this icon for mirror vertically to flip the text vertically. With the text tool selected, left-click once on the canvas and release the mouse button. Type a couple of words. From the Object Properties docker, click on this icon for character. From the Character panel, click on this black triangle and select a font style. I have opted to select Copious Black. You can select a font of your choice. I would suggest a font that has a bold face. I will change the font size to 109 points. Then click on the black triangle to open the drop-down menu for Fill Type and click to select to Color Pattern. Now click to open the Text Color drop-down menu. I will scroll down and click to select the maple leaf pattern. Then, I'll click on the icon to the right of it, the three dots, to open the Fill Settings pop-up window. Here, I'll click and choose red color as my first option. And close the panel. Then choose a lighter red color as my second color option. And close the panel. To its right, in the Transformations section, I'll make sure this lock icon is active and then place my cursor in the Fill Width field and type in a value of 1 inch. Press Tab to accept the change. Because we had the lock enabled, the fill height automatically changed, showing its value as 1 inch as well. Click OK to accept the changes. Then, I will click to open the Outline Width drop-down menu and choose 1 mm as my value. I will leave the outline color black. Once again, click F8 to switch to the Text tool and type a couple of words on the canvas. Switch back to the Pick tool. Click on the black triangle in the bottom right of the Color Eyedropper tool icon to open the sub-menu and click on the Attributes Eyedropper icon to select it. Your cursor will now look like an eyedropper. Up in the Properties bar, open the drop-down menu for the Properties section and make sure you have a check mark against all the choices in that group. Click OK. From the Transformations group, make sure there is a check mark next to Size. We will not need check marks against Rotation and Position. Click OK. And, from the Effects group, we do not need check marks next to any option in this group. Click OK. Now, move your cursor over the first text that we typed and formatted and left-click once. Your cursor now changes to look like a paint bucket with a "Do Not" symbol next to it. Hover the bucket over the newly typed text and position it so that the "Do Not" symbol goes away. Left-click once. Switch to the Text tool by pressing F8 and highlight a letter to select it. I am selecting the second T in the word Artistic. From the Object Properties docker, I will make some changes and adjust the horizontal and vertical offset values as well as the character angle. I will leave the X value, that is the horizontal offset value, as 0. I'll change the Y value, that is the vertical offset value, to 13. And then place my cursor in the character angle field and change the value to 10 degrees. Next, I will highlight and select the next character, which in my case is an I. Once again, I am going to leave the X value as 0, but change the Y value to 23. I will leave the character angle at 0 degrees. Next, I will highlight and select the next character, which in my case is a C. I will change the X value to -2. Y value to 13. And the character angle to -10 degrees. Switch to the Pick tool and left-click once on a blank spot on the canvas. If you change your mind and wish to straighten these three letters that we made the changes to, then select the text using the Pick tool. Then, click on Text up in the Properties bar and scroll down and click on Straighten Text. You can break apart artistic text to move individual words as well as individual letters. Using the Pick tool, left-click once to select the text and press Ctrl-K, Command-K on the Mac to break apart the text into separate words. You are now able to grab any of the words in this line and move it around or delete it. With a word selected, press Ctrl-K, Command-K on the Mac one more time and you will break apart each letter that is part of that word. You can move each letter around or delete it without impacting the rest of the characters. You are able to fix artistic text to a path. First, I am going to fix text to an open path. Press F8 to switch to the Text tool. When you fit the text to an open path, the text flows forward from the point of insertion. Gently hover the mouse over the path till you see a small wave line. This is the Fix Text to Path pointer. Left-click once and type your text. As you can see, the flow of the text typed is from the insertion point, forward. If you wish to change the font size, you can do so from the Object Properties docker. You can change how the text bends in relation to the path. From the Properties bar, click on the black triangle for the drop-down menu for text orientation. Text orientation specifies how the text bends to follow the path. Hover the mouse over each option to see the change in the orientation of the text. Left-click once to make your pick. Similarly, you can fix text to a closed path. Press F8 to switch to the text tool. When you fit the text to a closed path, the text is centered around the point of insertion. Hover the cursor over the closed path, and when the cursor changes to show the Fix Text to Path pointer, left-click once and type your text. Notice that the flow of the text you typed is to the left and to the right of the insertion point. I am going to change the size of this text to 40 points. I will grab the reddish square and move the text to the middle of the top curve of this path. In the Properties bar, this icon is to mirror the text horizontally. And this icon is to mirror the text vertically. I'll click on Mirror the Text Horizontally icon to mirror it accordingly. And to mirror it vertically, I'll click on the icon for Mirror the Text Vertically. You can also break the text apart from the path. To do so, with the text and the path selected, click on Object to open the drop-down menu. Scroll down and click on Break Text Apart, or press Ctrl-K, Command-K on the Mac, to break the text from the path. Now you can grab the text, or the path, and move it around or delete it. You can also fit a pre-existing text to a path. To do so, click and select the text as well as the path. Under Text, from the menu bar, click on Fit Text to Path. Adjust the text position as per your choice. I am also going to open the drop-down menu for text orientation and click on choice number 3, as it fits the path more to what I have in mind. Then I will press Ctrl-K, Command-K on the Mac, to break the text apart from the path. I will then open the Align and Distribute docker, and from the section, I will first click on this icon for Active Object in the Align Object to section. Then from the Align group, I'll click on the Align Center Vertically icon. Left-click once on a blank spot on the canvas to deselect the path and text. Then left-click once to select the path. Click to open the Object Properties docker. Click on the Outline icon to ensure it is selected, and click on Outline Color to open the drop-down panel. Select a darker gray color and close the panel. Then, I will click on the icon for Fill. The Paint bucket. Click on the Fountain Fill icon and select the colors of my choice. Similarly, I can do the same with the text. Click on it to select it, and with the character icon active, I'll click to open the drop-down menu for fill type. Then click on Fountain Fill as my choice. If I want the two end colors swapped, I'll click on this icon with the 3 dots to open the Fill Settings panel. From here, I'll click on this icon for reverse fill to swap positions between the two color nodes and click OK. Here's another example of fitting text to a path and formatting. Using the Pick tool, I'll select the text and the closed path object. From the drop-down menu under Text, I'll scroll down and click on Fit Text to Path. From the drop-down menu under Text Orientation, I'll click on the third choice to select the bend for my text in relation to the path. Left-click once on a blank spot on the canvas to deselect the text as well as the object. You can offset the text along the x-axis by changing the values in the offset field. Every time you click on the up triangle or the down triangle, you will see the text move to the right or to the left, depending on your pick. Or, you can left-click in the field itself and type in a value. In my case, that value will be 1 inch. I'll press Ctrl-Z, Command-Z on the Mac to undo the offset. You can adjust the text distance from path by clicking the up or down triangle. If you click the up triangle, you will move the text upwards and away from the path. If you click on the down triangle and change the value into a negative number, you will move the text below and away from the path. Up in the Properties bar, you will see the button for tick snapping. This is to specify increments for snapping text spacing in relation to the path. Click on the black triangle to open the drop-down panel. The default setting is Tick Snapping Off. For now, you can close this panel without making any changes. You will see a reddish square in the bottom right corner of the text. You can left-click and hold and drag it in any direction, vertically or horizontally, and position it at a point of your choice. You will notice blue dotted lines showing you where the text would lie at any point of the movement. It will also show you the spacing of the text in relation to the path. Above the path will be a positive value, and below the path will be a negative value. When you move the text in a vertical direction, and with tick snapping set at off, the increase or decrease in the distance is, more or less, continuous. Release the mouse button when done. Press Ctrl-Z, Command-Z on the Mac to undo this change. Now click on the black triangle to open the tick snapping panel and place a dot in the radio dial for tick snapping on. Set the value for tick spacing. I will leave mine at 0.25 inches. Now grab the reddish rectangle and move it upwards. Keep an eye on the spacing reading in blue, and you will notice that the increment snaps at every 0.25 inches of change. Release the mouse button when done. Press Ctrl-Z, Command-Z on the Mac to undo this change. Press F10 to switch to the Shape tool and left-click once on the text. You will see a white square note at the bottom of each letter. You will also see a control handle at the start and end points of the text. This will be a set of vertical black lines with a black triangle at the end. And a similar control handle at the start of the text. Left-click and hold on the control handle at the right end and drag the control handle to the right. Release the control handle after moving it a bit. You will see that all the letters in the text are spaced at a greater distance than the original spacing. If I want to move a particular letter, I will left-click and hold on the node for that letter and move it to where I need it to be on the path. I can even grab the node of a letter in the middle of the word and move it past the letters to its right or to its left. You can insert special characters, symbols, and glyphs to your text. You can also embed graphics in the text. First, open the Insert Character docker. To do that, click on Text and scroll down and click on Insert Characters. This will place the Insert Character docker in your Dockers panel and open it. From the Insert Character docker, click to select a sign. I am selecting the section sign. Click the Copy button. And with the text tool selected, left-click once at the insertion point of the text and highlight and select the letter S in the word "special", then press Ctrl-V, Command-V on the Mac to insert the sign. Click on the character filter to open the drop-down menu. Here, place a check mark against symbols and click on Close to close this panel. Scroll down the list of symbols and click to select one. I am selecting the house symbol. Click the Copy button. And with the text tool selected, left-click once at the insertion point of the text and highlight and select the letter H in the word "house", then press Ctrl-V, Command-V on the Mac to insert the symbol. You can even embed graphics in your text. To do so, with the Pick tool selected, left-click to select your graphics and press Ctrl-C, Command-C on the Mac to copy the graphics. Switch to the Text tool and left-click on the intended insertion point. In my case, I am going to replace the letter A in the word artistic with the graphics I copied. So, I will highlight and select the letter A and then press Ctrl-V, Command-V on the Mac to embed the graphics into my text. Finally, we will talk about PowerClip objects. In CorelDRAW, you are able to place vector objects or bitmaps inside other objects or frames. Any object can be a frame, such as artistic text, a rectangle, or any other shape. Basically, object is the content. If the object is larger than the frame, it is cropped to fit the form of the frame. This creates a PowerClip object. Let us look at a few different ways you can create a PowerClip. Here, I have an image and some text. There are no frames or empty frames as yet on the page. To create a PowerClip, I will click and select the image. Then, I'll click on the option Object up in the menu bar to open the drop-down menu. I'll scroll down and hover the mouse over PowerClip to open the sub-menu. From the sub-menu, I'll click on Place Inside Frame. Notice that the cursor now shows a thick black arrow. I'll hover the cursor over my text and left-click once to complete the creation of the PowerClip. I'm going to press Ctrl-Z, Command-Z on the Mac to undo the last action. I can also select the image and then right-click once on the image to open the pop-up menu. From the pop-up menu, I will click and select PowerClip inside. Then hover the cursor over my text and left-click once to complete the action of creating the PowerClip. Another way of creating a PowerClip is by first creating an empty PowerClip frame. To do so, I will click and select the text. Then click on Object from the menu bar and scroll down and hover over PowerClip. From the sub-menu, I will click to select Create Empty PowerClip Frame. You will see two diagonal lines within the bounding box of the text. This indicates that our text now is an empty PowerClip frame. Press Ctrl-Z, Command-Z on the Mac to undo the last action. We can also create the empty PowerClip frame by right-clicking on the text and from the pop-up menu, hover over Frame Type and from the sub-menu, click to select Create Empty PowerClip Frame. I will leave this empty PowerClip frame selected and left-click and hold on the image and drag it over the newly created empty PowerClip frame. And release the mouse button once I have it in the desired position. This method is ideal for completing the layout of your document before adding the content. On this page, I have two empty PowerClip frames and three empty text frames. These complete the page layout that I have in mind. To add content to this page, I will begin by importing my first image. Press Ctrl-I Command I on the Mac to open the import window. Navigate to the folder that contains the image. Click to select it and press the import button. The cursor changes to show a right-angled marker with some text about the image being imported. Left-click once on a blank spot of the canvas to complete the import. Grab the image and move it to hover over the empty PowerClip frame. You will see the color of the frame change. When it is in the desired position, release the image to complete the PowerClip. Now, I will repeat the same process to import another image for my second empty PowerClip frame. After the import is completed, I will grab the image and move it over the second empty PowerClip frame. Position it and release the mouse button to complete the creation of this PowerClip as well. Now, I will left-click once on the first empty text frame to select it. Note that this empty text frame is linked to another empty text frame. This text flow tab confirms that there is a link present. And this blue arrow points to that linked empty text frame. Right-click once to open the pop-up menu. From this menu, I will click on Insert Placeholder Text. You will notice that, because these two frames are linked, the text from this frame flows over into the next frame. I will repeat the same steps on the third empty text frame to insert some placeholder text. You are also able to create a PowerClip using perfect shapes. Here, I have a spiral and a 12-point polygon. I will start by converting both of these objects into empty PowerClip frames. First, I will right-click on the spiral to open the pop-up menu. From this menu, I will move my cursor to hover over Frame Type to open the sub-menu. From the sub-menu, I will click on Create Empty PowerClip Frame. Then I will repeat the same steps to convert the 12-point polygon to an empty PowerClip frame. Next, I will left-click on this image to select it. Then I will right-click on it, and from the pop-up menu, I will click on PowerClip Inside. Then, I will move my cursor to hover over the empty PowerClip frame of the spiral and left-click once to complete the creation of the PowerClip. Then, I will grab the second image and move it to hover over the 12-point polygon. When the color of the frame changes and the image is in the desired position, I will release the mouse button to create the PowerClip. You can also place a PowerClip within another PowerClip. Here I have two PowerClips. I am going to place the smaller PowerClip inside the bigger PowerClip. For that, I will right-click on the smaller PowerClip, and from the pop-up menu, I will click on PowerClip Inside. Then, I will move my cursor, the thick black arrow, and hover over the larger PowerClip, and left-click once to complete the process. Here, I want to show you a few ways you can manipulate a PowerClip. I will click to select this PowerClip. I'll hover the mouse around the middle black square on the bottom of the bounding box of the PowerClip. And from the pop-up menu, I will click and select this icon for Edit PowerClip. Now, I can grab the picture and move it around and place it exactly as I like. Then, I'll release the mouse button. Once again, I'll hover the mouse over the middle black square on the bottom of the bounding box of the PowerClip. And from the pop-up menu, I will click and select this icon for Stop Editing Content to complete the editing of the PowerClip. Note that the bounding box at this point is around the PowerClip. Now, from the pop-up menu, I'll click on the icon for Select PowerClip Contents. You will notice that the bounding box has now shifted from the PowerClip frame to the content. You can now grab the image and move it to where you wish to place it. I'll press Ctrl-Z, Command-Z on the Mac to undo the last action. Left-click once on a blank spot on the canvas, and then left-click once on the PowerClip to select it. I can also extract the image from the PowerClip frame. From the pop-up menu, I'll click on the icon for Extract Contents. This action extracts the image and separates it from the PowerClip frame. The PowerClip is now an empty PowerClip frame. You can right-click on this empty PowerClip frame and from the pop-up menu, hover your mouse over Frame Type to open the sub-menu. From the sub-menu, click on None to convert the empty PowerClip frame to artistic text. Press Ctrl-Z, Command-Z on the Mac a couple of times to undo the last two actions. From the same pop-up menu, click on this black triangle to open the sub-menu. From the sub-menu, click on Center Contents to center the image in the PowerClip. Similarly, you can fit contents proportionately or fill frame proportionately. You can also stretch contents to fill frame. Once you have your content placed and fitted in the frame as you desire, you can click on this icon for Lock Contents to PowerClip to ensure that the content does not shift from its position if you have to move the PowerClip around. That brings us to the end of this tutorial on mastering the artistic text tool in CorelDRAW. Please take your time exploring this tool and get familiar with all its features and capabilities. Next, we will start by learning about the dimensions and the three-point callout tools. To learn about dimensions and the three-point callout, please access the Mastering the Dimensions and the Three-Point Callout Tools in CorelDRAW tutorial. Or, click on the link provided below in the description of this video. To access the previously published tutorials, please click on the links provided below for those tutorials in the description of this video.